Shalom. All praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. Double honors to the apostles and elders of GreatMillStone. And shalom to the Arkim that are teaching this word. Shalom Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakah Kwadash. Alright, this is 2 Corinthians 2:11. It says, lest Satan should get an advantage over us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. Alright? And currently this world we live in is under the rulership of who? Well, the Lord's given the earth into the hands of the wicked, all right? And Satan and Satan's counterparts, man, his physical counterparts on the earth, which is the sons of Esau, which is who you call today so-called white people, all right? They're known biblically as Edomites, all right? And the earth is in their hands. So it says, at least Satan should get an advantage over us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. So the elect, the brothers that are teaching this word, right, the brothers in the knowledge, in the know, all right, we're not ignorant of Satan's devices, right? We're not ignorant to the so-called white man that he's the wicked, all right? And he's a deceiver. We're not ignorant to that fact, all right? Like a lot of our people are. A lot of our people are blind to the facts, man. A lot of so-called Negroes, Hispanics, Native Americans are blind to really what's going on the planet Earth, man, all right? That they're in slavery, that the so-called white man's over them and he's deceiving them. And the very fact that they called us black and they call themselves white, that's a deception in itself, because there's no such thing. We're really the Israelites, Negroes, Hispanics, Native Americans, and they're really the sons of Esau. They're really known as Edom in the Bible, Esau. Okay, so that's part of Satan's deception. But the elect are not going to be ignorant to these devices, man. Now I read that so I can read this here. Okay, excuse me. Okay, yeah, I read that so I can read this here. So we're not ignorant to Satan's devices, so I could read this here. All right. Okay, what the hell happened there, man? Satan, man. Okay, so I can read this here, because when you look up on etymology the word white, all right, it says bright, radiant, clear, fair. All right. This is describing the word white. So when you say the word white, these are the things that are popping in your mind, man. You know, when you say white people, when people say white people in the world, they're thinking of the Jesus Christ, all right? Which is a false image of the Lord, by the way. He's not a so-called white man. He's not an Edomite. But this is what people think. Bright, radiant, clear, fair. Like there's some sort of moral people, man. And this is part of the so-called white man's deception. This is part of Esau, Edom's deception, man. Okay, and I'll read on here. Let's see what other ones it has. Oh, okay, let's say it says in Middle English it meant gracious, friendly, favorable. This is all referring to the word white. So this is how the world looks at the so-called white man, when in essence it's the other way around. He's really the wicked. He's a devil. He's a deceiver. He's a murderer. He's a liar. He's the serpent, that old serpent. All right. It says gracious, friendly, favorable. The racial sense of those chiefly European or European extraction, which who calls themselves European today? The so-called white man, which he stole that identity as well. They're really known as the Edomites. But this is all what pops up for the word white, all right, which is all a lie, okay, meaning characterized or pertaining to white people, all right. It says here, English, it says white supremacy attested from American 1868 American English, John H. Van Avery, white supremacy and Negro subordination. All right, that says it all. White supremacy and Negro subordination. All right, which means basically everything is in their favor, because this is the wicked's world. So meaning Esau's Edomite supremacy, which is really what it is, and Israelites, Negroes, Hispanics, Native Americans being put in slavery, man. So that's why they have to come up with the terms white and black, because it's a deception. When you look up the word white, like I just read, it says radiant, clear, fair. And the so-called white man's not a moral person. He's not fair. The Edomites are not. They're the wicked. They're not moral. They're not fair. They're the wicked. They're the evil. But this is all brainwashing, man. That's why I read the scripture. We're not ignorant to Satan's devices, because majority of the world, predominantly our people, Negroes and Hispanics and Native Americans, you are blind to the fact that the so-called white man's the devil, man. He's the wicked. And you're the Israelites. You're the sons of the Most High. And you have to come back to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, the Bible. Okay? So I just read it there. It says here, white supremacy and Negro subordination, meaning you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native American, you're just slaves under these devils, man. But the point is, words and imagery matters and word matters, because when people think of white people, they're thinking of moral, good people. All right, they're thinking of Jesus Christ himself, when it's all a lie. All right, the so-called white man, they're not really white. First of all, they're red. They're the Edomites. They're known as Edom in the Bible, the red man. All right, that's what they are, man. And they're deceivers. They're the devil. All right, and they're gonna be, and this world's soon gonna be destroyed by the true Lord Yahweh Shai, the God of the Bible, which is a so-called black man. All right, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ is really a so-called black man, so-called an Israelite. Now let's have a look at this here. When you look up the word black, all right, and this is all the deception of the so-called white man. Okay, when you look up the word black, it says meaning fierce, terrible, wicked. All right, and this is how people view you so-called Negroes, man, in this world. The world views you that way, because this is how, when we've been brought down by the so-called white man and put in slavery, these are the labels he's put on our people, man. Oh, you're just black people. The scriptures say they delight to, roughly paraphrasing, to cast us away from our excellency, cast us down, meaning they're not calling us by who we really are, which is we're the Israelites. Now you got the so-called Jews running around calling themselves Jewish people, man. But the true people of the Lord are calling themselves black. And this is what is attached to the word black, all right? Meaning fierce, terrible, meaning you're terrible, wicked, you're evil. All right? Without light, all right? And often comes from the notion of without light, moral or spiritual. So you ain't got no light in you. Basically, you're wicked and evil. All right? It says Latin and nigger had many of the same figurative senses: gloomy, unlucky, bad, wicked, malicious. Yeah, so you're just always black. People that are so-called black are just always want to do harm to people, basically. Which, when you look at it, it's really the other way around. The so-called white man's the one that's doing harm on the planet Earth. He destroyed the earth, the Edomites. Job 9:24, the earth's given into the hands of the wicked. They've destroyed the planet Earth, man. So really it's the other way around, but this is the mental tricks of the devil, all right? This is all the tricks of the devil, man, all right? Well, that was the point I wanted to read there. It says gloomy, unlucky, bad, wicked, malicious. So you're intending to harm people. These are all the words, all right, connected to the word black. So when you call yourself black, in essence, this is what you're dragging along with you, because you're dragging this along with you because the so-called white man set it up where he's called you black and he's called himself white and he's on top. So everyone clings on to these words, right? So when you say the word black, this is what you're dragging along with you. People have the thought of you being wicked, evil, a thief, a murderer. Anything bad's connected to that word. And anything good is connected to the word white, which really is a deception. It's a deception. Because really, you so-called blacks and Hispanics and Native Americans, so-called, you're really the Israelites in the Bible. You're God's chosen people, man. All right? And the so-called white man, they're really known as the Edomites. They're the devil. And the Lord's given them the planet Earth for a period of time to punish us and to show us what wickedness is, man. So you got to come out of this madness. All right, so let me read this scripture here. This is Revelation. I want to read this here. Revelation 20, and I'll start at 1. It says, "And I saw an angel come down from heaven, having the key of the bottomless pit and a great chain in his hand. And he laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent," all right? This is referring to the so-called white man, chiefly the Roman Empire at that time. Because the Roman Empire fell for 1,000 years in Europe, all right? It was called what? And then what was it called? That 1,000 years, medieval Europe was called what? The Dark Ages, man. Where you had so-called black men, all right, which you see in the so-called West Indies today and Americas today, okay, were ruling Europe for 1,000 years. All right, but it says here that they laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and which is the devil, and referring to the so-called white man, because when he got brought down, he got put in slavery for 1,000 years. It was called the Dark Ages, all right? Dark Ages or medieval Europe, okay, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years. So he was in slavery for a fucking 1,000 years after the Roman Empire fell. That's when you had the period called the Holy Roman Empire. But the so-called white man, Esau, doesn't show you this in the history books because he hides it. Because when you're ruling, go on top and you subjugate the people that you're ruling over, you have to basically keep them away from the true knowledge of who they are. And that's what the so-called white man's done. That's why he took your nationality from you in slavery. That's why a lot of you so-called Negroes, you don't know who you are. You say, I'll go back to Africa, but you're the Israelites. But you say, I go back to Africa, but you can't pinpoint where, because you've been stripped from that knowledge when you was put in slavery, right? But truly, you're the sons of Israel, and you ruled Europe for 1,000 years, man. It was called the medieval Europe, the Dark Ages, all right? All these castles that you see in Europe, all throughout Europe, Russia, Romania, Turkey, all these castles and churches, that was all yours, man. That's all your history. But this is the point. We bound Satan, which is the devil, and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years, which is a so-called white man. He was bound for 1,000 years. And why did we bound him up? Because it was his time to go down then. Now they're back on top because they came back into the rulership pursuant to prophecy. All right, they're back on top now because they had to take us down for us to be punished. But now we're living in a time where the Lord's getting ready to bring them down again. And they ain't never going to rise again, the Edomites. So it says, and bound him 1,000 years. So Esau was bound 1,000 years, man. The so-called white man. And cast him into the bottomless pit, all right? And shut him up and set a seal upon him, meaning we shut him down, meaning he had no power in that period of time. And this is the point I wanted to read. We shut him down. He had no power in that time. And set a seal upon him that he should deceive the nations no more. Till the 1,000 years, that he should deceive the nations no more. That's the point I wanted to read. Because the so-called white man, what has he done? He's deceived the nations. He deceived the planet Earth. That's why they call themselves white today and they call you black. They've said that they're Jesus Christ, they're the angels, they're their God, which is all a lie. See, when you go into medieval Europe, the churches and a lot of the frescoes was a lot of our people, so-called Negroes, painting our images of the Apostle Paul, Peter, the Lord himself, things of the Bible. We were painting it with it on frescoes on the walls all throughout Europe. But when Esau, the so-called white man, came back into that power seat, all right, starting with the Ottoman Turks, the Renaissance era, when they started coming back into the power seat from the 1300s, 1400s, taking us down throughout Europe, they were whitewashing our images, so-called whitewashing. It was called iconoclasm, which is part of the so-called white man's deception. That's why today everyone thinks Jesus Christ is white, or the angels are white, or God himself is so-called white, which is all blasphemy and lies. But this is the point. It says, so let me read it again. Revelation 20:3, and cast him into the bottomless pit, which is Europe, and shut him up, meaning shut him down. He had no power in this period of time, and set a seal upon him. So the so-called white man, he had no rulership at this time. He was put in, well, we really rounded them up and put them in the caves, all right? Because they were in the caves in this period of time. This wasn't even that long ago. What, 1,000 years ago? They were in the caves, man. That's the history of the so-called white man, all right? But now he's deceived you to telling you he's the kings of Europe, he's this, he's that, which is all a lie. Okay, it says that he should deceive the nations no more. That he should deceive the nations no more, because he's a deceiver. He's a liar. That's what the word devil means. So we set him up because we knew, look, we bound him and chained him up and put him in slavery because, look, this guy is the devil. He's a deceiver. If he's let loose, he's just going to lie and spread his madness everywhere, which is what they've done today, which is biblical prophecy. Okay, that he should deceive the nations no more till the 1,000 years should be fulfilled. So after that 1,000-year period, all right, it was after that 1,000 years, the Lord let us have them in slavery. The Lord raised them back up till that 1,000 years should be fulfilled. And after that, he must be loosed a little season. And we're in that little season now. So meaning the so-called white man came back into the authority seat. All right. So we're now, well, now the time we're in now is we're at the end of the Edomite system, because how we know we're at the end is because the Lord's got his prophets on the highways and we're teaching the truth. And we're bringing out the understanding from what? The Bible. Beginning with the apostles and elders of GreatMillStone, bringing out the true knowledge of the Lord. Because this whole earth is in lies. It's been deceived. Because why? It says here, and after that, he must be loosed a little season. So that's talking about the so-called white man. He came back into the power seat and deceived the earth yet again. All right? That's why you so-called Negroes are calling yourselves black today. And he calls himself white. He's the angels. He's Jesus Christ. He's the kings of Europe. He's the knights. He's the samurais. He's everybody in history. Who the hell are you then? It's all deception and lies, man. Because the so-called white man's really the devil. They're really the Edomites, man. So that's the point. They've been loosed that little season. And they've deceived the nations. And now, the time we're in now is we're at the end of the world. The end of an age. The end of the time of the Edomites, the so-called white man. We're living in the time of the destruction of this world, man. This system. All right? So he got loosed a little season and he's deceived everyone. So you so-called Negroes and Hispanics, Native Americans, you need to get out of that mind frame of white and black, because there's no such thing. You're already the Israelites. You're the Negroes, Hispanics, Native Americans. You are the Israelites that the Bible speaks of. You're the people of the Lord, man. And the so-called white man's the Edomites. And if you can't understand that, or if you can't understand that, then the Lord hasn't opened your mind to get it, man. All right, we're living in the end now, and we're living, like it says, he was loose for a little season. So we're living in the end of that little season now. We're living in a time where the Lord's going to bring judgment on this earth and bring truth on this planet earth, man. All right. He's bringing it. He is bringing truth already, but then he's going to physically bring truth on this planet earth. And he's going to come and bring his kingdom and take this kingdom down. So with that, I'm just going to say all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. And shalom to the Akim that are teaching this word. Shalom Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakah Kodash. Shalom, shalom.